I love this movie.
Yeah.
This movie's another level. And I don't know, you've obviously seen it.
Yeah.
It was like, for me, the fastest 2.5 hour movie I've seen in a long time.
I agree. I've watched 90-minute films that have felt longer than this.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
So you have been involved in the Mission franchise since MI3. You have witnessed Tom do ridiculous stunts that have to have scared you as a friend. When you think from Mission 3 to this one, and you think about all the major set pieces he's done, rank the Simon Pegg nervousness on the stunts in terms of you sitting there watching or not wanting to watch. Like which the set pieces, and then how nervous you were, and maybe some sort of ranking system.
The ones that I've been present for, like literally on the day, so I'm there while it's happening. I would say number one would be the cliff jump, just because, you know, the gap that would occur between when he disappeared to the radio saying "good canopy," which is when we know he deployed his parachute. That space was like an eternity. It would be silence, and we'd all be there. Everybody was up there. Me, Pom, Tarzan, Haley, Isai, Shay. We're all up there, and we're just waiting for that good canopy, and we'd all just relax. And it was genuinely terrifying. Second one I would say is probably the airplane, hanging onto the airplane in Rogue Nation. I was there sort of like on the ground in my ghillie suit, kind of watching that happen. And that was just, you know, I mean, there were more variables involved in that one than some of the other stunts that we've done. Although actually I might push that down to 3, because when we were doing Fallout and he was hanging from the helicopter, Rebecca and I were on the ground watching, and no one told us that he was going to drop from the skids to the bundle. And so for 2 seconds, we just thought, oh, Tom's fallen, as he went, and then it was like, no, it's part of the thing. So that was super terrifying. And then I guess what else have I been there for? The Burj Khalifa. But I would put that last only because Tom clearly was having the time of his life. He was just Spider-Manning all over the front of that building with a big shit-eating grin on his face, like, I'm having the time of my life. And I remember like peeking out the window, however many miles we were up, and he was clearly very relaxed in that one.
This is I want to word this right. Like, he really is, all kidding aside, risking his life. Yeah. And you're literally, I mean, you're his friend. And have you ever like pulled, like before stunts, or just talk to him and be like, hey, you know, just in case, you know, I love you, like that kind of a thing? Or is it sort of an unwritten rule on set that no one says things like that?
No, I think you're right. I think that kind of thing, we all understand it. I mean, the thing about Tom is that he feels an obligation to the audience to kind of provide this kind of thrill. He understands the value of a kind of authentic, physical stunt, you know, a practical stunt. So we all know there's always a quiet sense of industry on the set when we're prepping. But when we were in New Zealand shooting Fallout, and Rebecca and I were going home, Tom and Henry were staying behind to do the helicopter chase. When we said goodbye, there was a slight sense of like, okay, well, maybe see you in London. You know? And it was hard not to kind of be a bit like, there were extra squeezes with the hugs. It was a bit like, I don't know. But obviously, it was all fine.
I had a long chat with McHugh this morning, and he said that the biggest stunt that has ever been done is later this year.
Yes.
Do you get to be involved in that stunt?
Well, let's see if I survive until the end of this installment, shall we?
Okay, I'll leave that there. One of the things, though, I think is really... Tom and McHugh work in an interesting way, because McHugh was telling me that like the train sequence he always knew was going to be in the third act, but he didn't understand how it was all going to go, and that they reshot it multiple times. Mm-hmm. So what is it actually like with making a movie like this, where McHugh might just say, yeah, that didn't work, we're going to redo this whole thing? I
always say, oddly, you know, when my description of McHugh's filmmaking style is like in Wallace and Gromit, when Gromit's laying the track in front of the train as it's going. That's kind of how we work, you know, and McHugh just trusts himself, and we all trust him, that he's never going to run out of track, you know, and he'll always... You ask him a question about what happens in this, or why are we here? And he'll say, I don't know yet. And you have to trust that he is going to figure it out, because his skill, his superpower as a filmmaker and a writer is to problem solve. So you give him a broken script and he'll fix it just like that. And he's kind of him and Tom have learned to make films in such a way where they have the big beats very, very, studiously planned out. But the connective tissue, the stuff that for the reasons for these things happening, they kind of grow as we go. It's exhilarating, frustrating sometimes, but they always come up with the goods.
You have to agree that it's very few filmmakers who can do what they do in terms of not have it all figured out before they stand on set.
None. I don't think there is anyone else that could do that, and Tom and McHugh just have such a rhythm now. They've galvanized their relationship since McHugh came on board Ghost Protocol as a writer to now 3 films in as writer, director, and star. They have a relationship which is symbiotic. It's quite amazing.
So when McHugh first told you that this basically AI was going to be the thing, it was many years ago, and he couldn't have known how much AI was going to be in the media and everyone talking about it when the movie was coming out.
Yeah.
So is he Nostradamus? And A, and B, talk a little bit about how it's a great villain for the time.
We've spoken about this because when McHugh pitched the idea to me back in 2019, it felt to me, oh, this is so Mission Impossible. It's kind of like, it's futuristic, but it's still very much in the kind of tech theme that Mission Impossible has. It's the perfect antagonist for this series. And as we've been making the film, this kind of debate, this subject has become very much at the forefront of kind of the cultural subconscious. It's amazing how prescient this film feels. I think it's intriguing. We've always been scared of things that we feel might supplant us, whether it is monsters or gods or aliens or robots. This is a particularly kind of topical idea because it's something that feels more likely than any of those other things, And as we discuss it and talk about the ethics of it, this film, I think, feels like a timely warning about, what could happen.
On that note, I got to go. I'm just going to say, can't wait to see it again.
Thank you, buddy.